Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bikini in the Brain. I am here with the lovely 47 win Ashley Cotwasser, fresh off of a win from the Mile High. But we also have another special guest on today, and we're going to be bringing in the lovely, reigning, defending Miss Masters Bikini Olympia champion of the world. Yes, Wilson.
Hi.
Yeah. So glad to have you on because I
Yes.
know a lot of our listeners would love to hear from you. We have a lot of masters athletes who are also competing, and I'm sure they would love to hear about your experiences because you're pretty legit, I would say. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's the first Miss
The first.
Bikini Olympia Masters, and no one can ever take that away from
That's
you.
pretty cool.
Number one, the first ever. No one can ever take that away. So thank you for joining us, Jessica Wilson. Yes.
Thank you, Ashley, AK-47. Thank you.
I told you that.
I know, but I didn't put it together. Well, we've always called you
gosh.
AK-47, but now you're actually AK-47.
Right?
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, my old track nickname.
Yeah.
But at the point, we
I
have
know.
somebody extra special here today, Jessica. So tell
Thank
us,
you.
who are you and what do you do? What
Well, who am I? I'm trying to figure that out myself. No, I'm kidding, guys. So just, a little bit of just a brief for those who don't know me. And I've been in the bikini world for quite a long time. I surprise myself sometimes thinking about, wow, it's been a decade. Oh my gosh, so yeah, I've been doing this quite some time. But outside of the stage, I'm just a little Dominican girl from the Bronx, New York, that always knew she had big dreams. She wanted to be a veterinarian since she could talk. Luckily, I was able to accomplish that. And then once I did that, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, there's more. What am I going to do for me? And that's how I kind of stumbled onto bodybuilding and did my first show in bikini. Ooh, sorry guys, my foot's falling asleep. This is happening live. Stumbled onto bikini back in that 2012, 2013 era when Instagram and social media really started growing. And I realized, wow, this is pretty cool. This is something I think I could do. Let me just try it. And I did. And then, well, we know the rest is history, right? So got hooked there. But that's like a little synopsis about me. I'm a vet outside of bodybuilding, lots of different facets to me, as there are for so many other people that are athletes, professional athletes or amateur athletes in this world. But those are the big themes in my life. I'm a veterinarian and I am a professional bodybuilder. So and I started later. So that's, and we can dive into that, but that's me summed up.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know you were, well, I didn't know you said Dominican?
Yeah.
And from the
Yeah.
Bronx. Those are
Yeah.
two things I didn't never put together. That's cool.
Yeah.
You don't have a Bronx accent.
No, you know what? I learned Spanish before English. And so I started learning English when I ended up going to school, and I was in the ESL program. I was fortunate enough to go to a private school. So it was like plain old and regular English. Like there were no accents. It was like you say the word the way it's supposed to be said. You say coffee instead of coffee. You say dog instead of dog. But some things have stuck because now I live on the West Coast in California, and my husband always makes fun of me like when I say the word orange.
Oh, you
It's
say that.
orange, right? It's orange. And he's like, no, it's orange. And I'm like, that's weird. You're saying it wrong. So that's the only thing that really stuck. That's really all it is. But yeah.
Sometimes I feel I should be offended at myself because people who speak English as a second language sometimes speak it better because they learn it like properly. And I learned it, Southern California. And I'm here. I'm like, man, you sound better than me. This is your second language. So I couldn't tell. That's great. Your friend's like that too. That has that. She's so proper with how she talks, which is her second language. So
absolutely. Yes. So I do want to add on a little bit of my experiences I had with Jessica too, because we have competed together a few times before here in Nevada and at other places as well. And of course, the regular Bikini Olympia.
Right.
But something I do like about you, there's a few things that really stand out to me. One, you take some risks with those suit colors and you pull off so well. So Jessica here, she's been seen wearing like lavender, pink, like a mint green. And what are some other colors that you've worn before that are a little more unique?
Before, I mean, I kind of always stuck to safe. Like in the beginning, it was like the emerald green. That was my very first show, emerald green, and that worked. Then I got adventurous when I had no business in being adventurous at that time. And this is like, heeding the warning to all the amateurs, like you got like play it safe in the beginning. I learned the lessons the hard way, but I went with like a kind of pinkish purpley, like my first national show. I prepped myself. What was I thinking? This is before I hired Kim. And it was like this pinky purpley. It just was not the look. So I discarded that immediately, that look. And then I stuck to the solid blues, went back to emerald for my pro debut, and then kind of just hovered in that blue, tried a red, but it's hard to find the right red depending on your tone and your undertones. So for me, I understand that now. So I tend to stay away from red. One day I'll find the right hue, but I haven't found it yet. And then I've gone with, let me think, more blues, just stoned differently. And then finally, my coach is the one who suggests the colors. And I love to have fun with this. It's like, it's my way of being creative. Yes, of course, keeping in mind that there is a look I want to attain with the color, for example. But he's the one who suggested that mint. And guys, I was not a fan. Like, I was not sure. He's like, let's just try like a baby blue, like minty. And I'm like, oh, I don't have a single thing in my wardrobe that is that color, but let me look into this. And I talked to my suit maker, Toxic Angels, and there was this mint fabric, and I'm like, oh, cringe. Like, I'm not sure about this. But let's see what happens. Won my first show in it, like what that season, it went well. And at that time, playing with hair color, and you actually are very consistent, right? And staying with your natural tone. Well, I went lighter. So it worked because the pastel kind of component in that mint green worked really well with a blonde. And now it's a trend that works for those types of individuals. But it worked. And then I realized, oh, okay, there's something to this. So I'll keep going with it. And then I'm the one who wanted to try the pink. And I had that one, I've done it once or twice where three times I've worn that pink suit. I had that suit since 2022. I wanted to wear it for the Chicago Pro. I won in the mint. So obviously we wanted to stick to the winning color, but I've had it for a long time. And then I finally wore it last year, but I wasn't doing well. So it didn't quite work for me. And so then that's when we saw that iris color, that lavender, that really light purple. And that was like 2 days before a show, almost 3 days before Nevada State, when it was me and you, Ashley. Yeah. So that was, I was either going to go back to the mint or, probably not try the pink, probably stick to the mint. And we saw that suit. It was like brand new. And Kim's like, can you make that suit for her this weekend? And my suit maker's like, yes, we can make that happen. Let's do it. And they got it done and I wore it. And then that's been the look. But I might play some more. We'll see.
I love it. See, I'm not as daring as you with the suits. I basically stick to 2 colors. But to be fair, there's a little range you can do within the green and red sphere, but not as daring as you. Maybe one day I would love to do yellow, but it's not not advised.
Yellow is a dream.
I already asked. It is not advised. Not advised. For those of you who are wondering why she never wore, like, who wears yellow? You don't see it that often. No, there's usually a reason why. Mm-hmm. But hey, if anybody can pull it off, it's probably you, because you can pull off every other color.
Yellow.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yellow is a dream. It's a dream of mine.
Everyone wants to wear yellow.
I'm not kidding.
Everyone wants to.
It's a dream. Like, I envision like golden, not so much the yellow, but more of like just gold. But it's so hard to translate the vision into the currently existing fabrics, right? The currently existing stones. So it's going to probably be a dream for a little while longer. And that's fine.
Yes. Another thing that really stands out about you, Jessica, is you're such a great representation for the sport. You keep it healthy. You're very supportive to other athletes too. You're the girl that's backstage talking to everyone. You're like friends with everyone. I wish I had that type of personality. I'm like backstage. I'm usually pretty clammy and just to myself, like, but you're just, I don't know anyone who does not like you. You're just so friendly and very encouraging and just overall good energy. So I do notice that.
Yeah. I've noticed that too, because you could tell when people are putting effort into it, and when someone's super genuine, and I'm always like, she's just genuinely like happy for everyone when they win, even when if it doesn't go your way, like you're still happy. And I just love that's how the sport should be, because you're not competing against people in like a race. There's nothing, you know what I mean? It's just you versus you. And it's just anyone's given day. It could be anyone's. Right. So I like that you really take that in, and how you are backstage. Just a great representation. I never see you eating sour grapes, you're always just like cheerful and giving people advice. So you're great to have on here because of that. And I have stolen, you could tell Kim too, I've stolen your suit probably like,
I love it.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of like 5 to 8 times with other girls.
Did they do well?
You know what?
Did it work for them?
Yes, it all worked for every one of them, because I wouldn't have put but I used you as a baseline, right? I was like, you know what would work on you, because you have the similar tone, similar this. And then I sent him your picture, and then they're like, oh, I love it. But it's something I wouldn't have done before. I always stick to my color tones, because what works. I stick to what works. But I have used those. I haven't used the was it lilac?
Iris is the name of the fabric, but it's like a lavender lilac kind of purple, light purple.
That one still gets me a little nervous. The seafoam green one is the one I use. So you pull it off, that's for sure.
Cool.
So
thank you.
No, we love your energy. That's why we wanted to. She said it was the other day. She's like, we should have on Jessica. I was like, I would love Jessica to be on here.
Yeah. And you give a good perspective being a Masters competitor, because you've got so much experience with this, and who better to ask than Miss Bikini Masters Olympia? So good stuff.
And I think that, this is the thing about Masters, and maybe you can give your input on this too. I've noticed, well, obviously you've been doing this long enough to see Bikini kind of get to where it's at now, which is, a more muscular, leaner physique. And I'm seeing now that the entry level Bikini girl is a lot more advanced than they used to be. And it seems to be trending towards the older age. It used to be, you'd see, like a Courtney King at like 18, 19, where she was when she won. And that would be like, you need to be, that's when they're peaking. But now it's like, you need muscle, you need tie-ins, you need muscle maturity, you need density, your skin is going to have to work with you too. And it looks like you don't see those physiques really even starting to get to that level until they're like in their late 20s, early 30s. So it's funny how it's kind of evolved, the sport has kind of gotten to too. So there's not as clear of a difference as like a Masters as there used to be, because I think getting the good girls start at like 30 now, it's crazy, So I do like that about the sport too. Because what if you did get into it when you're older and you missed your peak, but now it's like, I don't know where the peak really is.
Exactly. Like, I think people will kind of tell you like, oh, you're competing with, oh my gosh, is it hard competing with a bunch of 20-year-olds? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have the advantage here. I have more experience and a little more muscle maturity, which is key. Muscle maturity. It's a thing. So it's almost like it's not into someone's advantage to be that young. It takes a lot longer these days to achieve the look. Even if you do have a certain amount of muscle, there you have to be so refined. It has to be all the right muscle in all the right places. It takes years upon years upon years to do that. We're just refining things at this point. There's little things here and there. Once you do get to that level of muscle maturity, you need to refine. So every year, Bikini gets more and more competitive. So you see less and less of the super young girls doing as well. And I believe, and maybe you know this, Jessica, wasn't it Sandy that said like 60% of IFBB pros are above 35? So the majority is above 35. Yeah. And those are just the IFBB pros who are registered. That doesn't even count the ones that are actually doing well. But isn't that interesting? And it's kind of cool to think like, shoot, like, the sky's the limit right now,
Right. Yeah. definitely. So and I was going to bring up the stats, exactly those stats, because I had been preparing for a conference earlier in the year. I actually asked Andy, not Andy, who's Andy? Sandy. I actually asked Sandy, I'm like, Sandy, what are the stats? Do you have stats? Like, does that exist? And so she was able to come up with those numbers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that means that the demographic is shifting now, right? Because I know when I started, and probably when you started, Ashley, it was a lot of the younger athletes, right? And it's like the longevity wasn't quite there the way it is now. Like you and I would have been retired years ago based on kind of how things were in the past when we started competing. But when she told me those stats, I was blown away because she mentioned them at the women's conference when we saw each other in January. So that blew me away. And then that helped me realize, I'm like, wait a minute, this makes so much sense. So we have a group of athletes, and this is men and women alike, right? Because they didn't break down the specific demographics. They just said, all right, pros, amateurs, these are the numbers, these are the stats. But that tells me, all right, that tells me that there are a group of people who are going through getting their education, getting through their careers, and then they're finally at a point where perhaps financially they're in a better position, or even mentally, physically, they're in a position where they can invest time for themselves. Because that's kind of what happened with me. That's how I stumbled upon all of this. So that tells me, okay, that means masters is not dying in our league, right? And there's plenty of opportunity to grow the sport from that perspective. Now, of course, we've got to think about how do we attract the younger crowd as well, right? And we do that by being role model is such a powerful word, and so I don't use it lightly, but really being those positive role models that the youth oh my gosh, I'm aging myself, but the youth needs to see, right? Where there are people that can be athletes full time. There are people that can have not just that athletic career full time, but also have another profession full time, whatever that may be. It could be being a parent. That's a full time job, right? And then now, okay, the kids are a little grown up. Now you invest in yourself. So that was very indicative to me about, okay, the sport's not dying at all. It's growing. Now there are a lot more shows, so things look a little more diluted from the perspective of show attendance, but that means this is growing. And now the people that are in that more mature age group, there's room for them. And then when they came out with the Masters Olympia, I realized, oh my gosh, I know if I'm selected, if I'm the one that happens to win this thing, I can be that representative for those people that think they are too old and don't want to start or are a bit hesitant. So it's pretty cool to know that Masters is growing, and there's a number of reasons why, but I want more of us, right? So and if we are leading the way, we can show the younger generations like this can be done, and you can do this for a long time and maintain your health. So I feel like I went on a ramble tangent there, but
we love this. We love this. She's so articulate and well spoken. Like, my goodness gracious. Wow. A lot of what you said, I love to hear it. And yeah, it's just a funny, the mindset shift. Like it's, and Adam, you might be able to answer this better. Like from a physical standpoint, I would say it's probably in your favor to be closer to 30 than it is closer to 20 when we're talking about
100%
an advanced physique that would bring you to the top. We're not talking about your local show novice class. No, we're talking about the top of the top.
Yeah.
And that's important for the young girls to hear, right? And the Masters girls to hear. It's important for both groups to hear, because the young girls, I want them to hear that because they're maybe not doing as well yet. And I'm like, well, it's a more advanced physique. If you look at a bodybuilder, you just take like a bodybuilder perspective. I like to use bodybuilders because they're the most tried and true. They've been around the longest. And you look at them and this is how it used to be. You talk to the guy who won the show, and you talk to the bikini girl who won the show, let's say close to 15 years ago when it started for bikini, 2012 or so. You talk to both of them and you say, hey, how long have you been training? He's like, oh, this is my first show. I've been lifting for 15 years.
Yeah.
It took me this long and I still need probably another 20 pounds. Probably, maybe I'll do another show in 2 years and I can build up. Right. That was like the real, like Orange County, California, like the Orange County, like those guys, you'd see them once a year, they'd peak, you hear about them in a gym somewhere. Cause I grew up in the bodybuilding world, right? So hey, there's this guy's getting ready for the Orange County down at Powerhouse. Let's go check him out. No, right? So it was like, it wasn't online, right? And then you talk to like the bikini girl, like, oh, how long you been training? Oh, I just started doing it 6 months ago. That was back then, right? That was way back then. It was a totally different physique. When I was a trainer back then, I'd see a girl that would be like a waitress or something. I'm like, you ever thought about doing a bikini contest? Because that's what you're just looking for. You're looking for some shoulders and some curves and a pretty girl, and you're good to go. You just get them a little bit working out. But that's how it used to be. And I think that sometimes people still think it's kind of like that. I'll still get emails. Hey, I want to do a show in 4 months. And I'm like, how long have you been lifting? Like, so I started training like 6 months ago. And I'm like, it's different now. Now it's a little bit, not like the bodybuilder 15 years, but it's in that, 5-year range. If you're not doing good at 20, like understand this sport is like bodybuilding now. It's bikini bodybuilding now.
It is.
So there's parts of it. I always say bikini is like fitness modeling bodybuilding, like fitness model bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
It's all, and it's gotten to be a little bit more bodybuilding now than it's ever been. And so it's going to take you some time. If you're 20, don't get frustrated. Like these girls that are coming in hot and you're like, dang, this girl's coming in hot. Like it's super rare that they're 25, 23. It's like 28, 27, 32. Like it's not that. And then for the other side of it, for the women who are maybe getting closer to 40 or over 40, we also need to understand and look at it, right? Because I look at all sports. I'm a sports fanatic, mostly combat stuff, but that tells me a lot about what the body can take, And like if you look at like combat sports, they get all the guys, they do all the numbers, they ran all the numbers, and they found that guys start trailing down at 33, but they're really beating their bodies up.
Yeah.
But we look at the stats for bikini, there are no stats, right? We have yet, and people ask me this, but masters ask me this sometimes too, and they say, at what age does it start being like a real factor? And I said, well, the problem is we've never had someone age out of bikini.
Right.
Anyone who's left bikini has not been due to circumstances that they were no longer doing good. The circumstances were they got kids, they got married, they had a different career, they just retired. Not because like on top, there hasn't been someone who's like, oh yeah, she's really, starting the slack. Like in bodybuilding, you'll see a guy get to like 42, 44, maybe 46. That's usually, then they're like, oh, his legs are hard for him to keep his legs now. It's really hard for him to keep his legs, but it happens late 40s for those guys. We don't know with bikini where it starts happening. I haven't seen it.
No.
I'm sure it'll be the glutes, because if it's a guy's legs, it's probably gonna be the girl's glutes. It's like, oh, her glutes don't look the same. But have we ever seen that? Have we said that anywhere yet?
Yeah.
No one said it.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely things these days there's enough knowledge out there where you can extend the life of your physique, I guess you could say. And just being overall healthy obviously helps with that, and not, in my opinion, going drastic both ways. I think no one better to ask than to you, what is your key to longevity? Because I want this to be known as well.
Yeah.
Although Jessica won Miss Bikini Masters Olympia, she's also won open pro bikini shows. So she's not even always competing in masters competitions. She's competing with these 20-year-olds and everyone else. So give us your secrets, Jessica. We want to know.
And I'm happy. I
was picking on you, Jessica, because she blocked me in an Olympia spot one time.
I did.
You little poop, you blocked me on an Olympia.
You did.
She's like, I got you back. Finally got you back.
And what I do, I just smiled at you, and I'm like, But you know what? How cool is it that we respect each other enough where we can have that banter go back and forth?
Oh yeah.
I mean, like that to me, that like made my day. And then I was just like, he called me a little
so funny.
Like this
it was
is
so funny because it was the same year that everyone was saying like Ashley's blocking spots.
Yes.
And you blocked me, and she's like, "What's up? Got you back. Got you back."
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. I love that. But no, and I'm glad we're actually talking about this stuff, because it's like, yeah, we respect each other in this sport. You know, the majority of individuals, like, we can have these types of conversations. Some might take things a little more serious than others, but like, we're still having fun with this, right? So thanks for bringing that up, Adam, because I was somehow going to sneak it in here. Like, hey, remember that one time? But
I think you got me twice.
I think twice.
Yeah,
and then
twice.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun though. But it stays there.
Backstage, it's so fun.
Yeah,
we take it super seriously, but it's like we want to beat each other, of course, but we joke with each other. It's like,
yeah,
I think people underestimate. It's not like it's competitive, but it's different. It's like a fun level of competition.
Yes.
And we genuinely want someone to win. And it's when we lose, it's like, I know it sucks that we lost, but I'm happy you won, Kim. Or I'm happy you won, Kim. Like it's like our buddies, well, at least you won it. It's like, hey, at least you did it, so
exactly.
it's a fun thing. So we have a lot of fun with it.
Love it. I love it, love it, love it. But longevity. So when I started competing, I was 33, I believe. Yeah, because that was about 10 years ago. So I would have been 33. And I knew nothing about the sport other than I knew I wanted to get on stage. So I didn't know about masters, and masters in any sport, the masters divisions will start at 35. That's usually when the body, and this is science, guys, this is usually when the body starts to go through physiologic and anatomic and hormonal changes, usually around the mid 30s. So that's why, it's not just bodybuilding, but other sports as well. There will be the masters divisions. And so I wasn't really aware of it. I fortunately went pro pretty quickly in the open division at USA's in 2015. And I hopped into a couple of master shows once I did hit 35, but oh my gosh, I wasn't ready, you guys. I had nowhere near, just like you guys talked about, Adam, Ashley, the muscle maturity was absolutely not there. The density was not there. I was like a fish out of water. I did not belong there. I kind of, in retrospect, don't really belong in open because I was so puny. I was so small for so many years. And for perspective, for anybody watching out there, I'm barely 5'2", and my typical stage weight is 100 to 101 pounds. So I'm little. So prior to starting the sport, I was skinny. I was just little, very petite, very lean. And so building that muscle, and then not just building the muscle fullness, but then the maturity and density, that took years. That took so long. And I had to make changes. And this is something Kim mentions. Your environment is so important, where if changes aren't happening in your physique, you've got to look at your stress levels. You've got to look at your environment. You've got to look at, what demands are placed on you that are impeding your growth, and that we're referring specifically here to muscle maturity, and what we're looking for in bikini or in our division. And I just kept competing. And this is, this was me. This is me, not my coach. This is me just insisting every year I want to hop into more shows. And I was, every year having another birthday, right? Getting up there and then thinking, masters, no, they're just too big. They're too big. I'm just going to stick to open, and I'm going to stay here. And I also realized, and I'm just being fully transparent, I look very youthful still. God bless me with some amazing genetics. I haven't had any work done on my face. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I've got to take advantage of this gift of youth that I have on my side. And so I'm just going to keep going for the open, because my goal was, okay, I want to make it to Olympia someday. I want to make it to Olympia someday. So the only way I'm going to get there is the open route, right? And they had just eliminated the point system, that one year where it was just points. That was an interesting year, crazy. Right? So I didn't go ham on that year, because I'm like, there's no way. My little body's gonna shrivel up into dust, not doing it. But I commended all the women that did do it. But how, again, and just being honest, they're not, a lot of them are out of the circuit now, right? And I don't know, I can't, and this is just my opinion, I don't know if that year had so much to do with the exhaustion that they put their bodies through a lot. I don't know, but I noticed these trends. And then finally the point system went away. I decided, all right, I got to take this seriously. I've got to make changes to my life so that I can go all in, because I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Okay, I'm this profession. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm a doctor. All right, so I'm there. Okay, I'm an athlete. Okay, but me being a doctor is everything, so I'm giving everything to that, and then I'm going to go work out. It doesn't work. Right? It just doesn't work. I'm not saying it can't, because I still practiced while I was still successful. But I had to make some changes to the type of environment in my workplace. And then I had to make changes so that I could maximize my sleep. Ashley, you guys in a podcast, I don't remember if it was super recent, but you talked about the non-negotiables. right? And so like I had to come up with my non-negotiables so that I then can make the changes so that I could be successful, because I had my one goal, make it to the Olympia, right?
Mhm.
And I knew masters isn't going to be the way, and I don't really look the part yet. So it was something I had to kind of think through and work through, and then just hit it hard on the open. And I reached the point at 40. 40 is when I won my first open show. So it's not like it happened when I was in my mid 30s, early 30s. I hit 40 and I was at the Olympia, like in an open show. And then I, again, because the rule is, you know, you can win a master's show, but it's not going to help you progress at all. You get some cash money. That's great. But my goal is every year, get to the Olympia, make that top 10, make the big stage, you know, be better than I was before. I've missed the mark a few years in a row now for various reasons, lessons that I've learned. But that's why I've always stuck to the open route. And then, you know, still continuing to grow, get that maturity, because a lot of these women that start, when they do start a little bit later, maybe they do have athletic backgrounds. I had zero. And you know, they can build upon that physique that way. And that's why these girls in their 30s are looking so good sometimes. Or you could be someone like me that never did a sport in her life. I did like little P90X videos during vet school to keep me fit, right? But that was all I did. And so moving through the years, I realized, all right, what's different? What can I change so that I could be at my best in the sport and actually have progression? And so that's kind of the route I went. So I didn't compete in master shows because I just didn't look the part. And then I ended up winning open shows year after year after year. And then I thought, okay, well, I guess this is the route that's for me. And then Masters Olympia came along. So it's like, okay, now what am I going to do? So I'm still kind of working through that. I don't remember what the original question was, but I just know I didn't have a whole lot of muscle. I didn't belong in Masters just yet. And then now I've got the muscle density, and the training is very different because I don't need to build like I had before. And so now it's okay, now what do we do? You know, what do we do? I could stay in open, which I'm going to stay in the open, but like, all right, what do we do with these masters shows? Like, what am I going to be able to accomplish with them? And what can I share with others if I do pursue a masters only route? I'm not sure yet, but I know masters won't take me to the O, so I've got to keep going open. So I'm coming, Adam. I'm coming.
No, just go to Masters, you know, defend in Romania again next year. We're good.
Yeah, I love your approach to this. I think what you're saying makes so much sense. And it's very encouraging too for the girls that do start a little bit later. I mean, you went from basically no athletic background, like you said, to wow, now you're at the real Olympia, you know?
Right.
So that is something to be said, because I don't know how many times we get asked, oh my gosh, I'm like 35 and I just now began. Is there any hope for me?
Just start.
Just go, you know? And if anything, there's so many different routes to go about. You're going through the open route. And I love that you're doing it, because I agree, girl, you're open quality for sure. And I hope you defend your title next year, though, at the Masters Olympia.
Oh, yes.
One thing I do want to clarify is Masters Olympia is 40 plus. So it's not 35 plus, it's 40 plus.
Correct.
And I'm not sure why they start at 40, but if I were to guess, it's for the exact same stat that Sandy said. Well, most pros are above 35 anyway. So let's make it just a little more mastery, I guess.
Yeah, 35 it shouldn't even it's so funny. I'm like, half these Olympia girls are 35. It doesn't even make any sense. Well, there's a master's 35. 40, even I would tell the girls that do masters, they're like, yeah, should I do masters at 35? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, honestly, they look the same. Like they're not, they sometimes look better, you know? So
a lot of times you see those masters competitors taking the overall at these shows.
Yeah, I had a girl win both at Universe a couple years ago. It was Open and Masters at the same time. And everyone's like, oh, I'm like, they're like, oh, I can't believe she did it. I'm like, dude, 35 is not like, it shouldn't even be a Masters. It doesn't even count really.
I agree.
So they're just, it just takes a long time. So, so you are going to be defending, you said?
Oh, yeah. Yes? I mean, come on.
I was, my girl got fifth. Alice Angela was my girl. She got fifth at the Olympics. I was hoping maybe I get, bump up to a 4th spot pretty easily there.
But you know what? Anything can happen. That's the thing. It's like, it's all there for all of us, right? So it's
we
like,
got 18 more months to go to come after you. Yeah,
exactly. I'm ready. No, but absolutely. Like there's room for all of us. Like it's, it's anybody's day, any given day. So yes. Like let's move her up.
If it is going to be, did you have word of if it's going to be in Romania? Is that something
not confirmed? Not confirmed. They haven't really given a lot of information on it yet, other than it will be every other year, which is a bummer in my mind. But then I'm like, I get the title for 2 years, not just one.
Yeah.
But
well, it's second place,
right? But I don't. They haven't really given out much information on it. Other than it's happening in 2025. I believe it will be in Romania. I believe it will be, unless that changes. But that's all I know.
That's because there's a huge Masters market. I mean, the Masters.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was last year was the first year where I went to Masters Nationals. I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like TCM, it was never been like that. Last year was nuts. It was the hardest it's ever been. I mean, I used to walk into Masters National shows. I was like, oh, I'll walk out with 3 of these pro cards, no problem. 4 pro cards. Like it was like a given. I was like, oh yeah, I'll get at least 3. Like it's like no problem. Right? It's like, dude, I hope I get 1 here. It's like USA's, USA's. All the top guys are like, I hope I get 1. It's funny because I was it's one time it was funny. It was years ago, and I was with Kim back there, and I was like, he's like, how are you doing this year? I was like, I got at least 2. Maybe 3. He's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. He's like, talk to me after you. I said, like, Jesse, that's what me. Like, how many? He's like, we'll see. He's like, we'll see. And then at the end of it, and like all the girls I thought were gonna kill it got like 2nd, 3rd. Oh no, it was 1 off. So it was 3rd, 4th, 6th. I think it was.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, dude, I didn't get. He's like, it's USA's, man. You can't walk in thinking
nothing. You can think nothing at all.
Now, Masters Nationals, you have to have the same mindset. It's like, no, this is deep. This is deep. It is not how it used to be. And I think that was last year the biggest. I don't know if it was last year was the biggest, but
I feel like it was. And I don't know anything about the numbers this year just yet, but I mean, it's gonna keep growing, especially that little 35 to 40 category, because that's the, in my brain, like, all right, we go for the open shows, but oh wait, you're 35, 36. Hold on. Now we have this other show in our back pocket. And now there's Masters USA's as well. And so it's like, that age group, they're very fortunate because they get more opportunities, but there's so many of them. There's so many of them. So as I often try to think like a coach. I mean, I do posing, but I mean, like coaching, like you coach, Adam, and then you coach as well, Ashley, right? We had that conversation in Utah and thinking like Kim, and it's like the anxiety that I would get if I knew like, all right, I'm going to throw my girls in here and we don't know what's going to happen, but your job is to bring them in at their best. And if they do their job, they do their work, hopefully it gets rewarded. But like, we can never go into any of these things with any assumptions, unfortunately, because that sets us up for hurt feelings and things.
Yeah. I tell everyone, if you want to get predictable results, choose a different sport. Bikini is not your sport if you want predictable results. If you you get all these stats and you see all these other sports, like, oh, Ashley can run a 440 and she can run a 40 and 3.5, so she's the clear favorite, and someone else can run it in 3.8. They're probably going to be second. Like, we don't have that in Bikini. No. There's no odds makers. It's just like, well, this one time she beat her here, and this one time she got 15th. It's like, there's no it's funny is I have this thing in Bikini, and I've done it every year where I'll give away. I do a Olympia prediction video. And if anyone can guess
those are fun.
Top 10 I go, or top 5?
I think it's you top 10.
Top 10. If anyone can go top 10 in order, I'll give them, it's $2,500 or $5,000. No one's gotten it. And I get hundreds and hundreds of guesses every year. Hundreds and hundreds of guesses every year. At least 200 a year. And they don't get it. I've even done a top 5 for, I think it was the Arnold was the last one I did, top 5, I think it was. And no one got it. And I'm like, man, yeah. It's that hard. It's that unpredictable Bikini is. So so you gotta, I think the girls hearing this too, especially the younger audience, understand that, this is.
Don't take a minute.
It'll take a minute.
It's gonna take a minute.
You're gonna get your heart broken here and there. There's just almost no way around it. You're gonna have disappointment. You're gonna get beat by someone you've beaten before. It's
Happens
just
to everyone.
yeah.
I always say this. Everyone who's been to Olympia, including the Olympia winner, has this one thing in common.
Yeah.
And that's we've all lost at some point.
100%.
Even the Olympia winner.
Yes.
No one has ever had an undefeated career in this sport. So just know that it takes time, especially in the beginning, trying to figure out everything, trying to figure out your body, your conditioning, your routine, your prep, everything.
The look, right?
Yes.
All of it.
Yes. There's so much that goes into it. So it's a long process. If you want to be at the top, it's not going to be as easy as I just started training for my first bikini competition this year. And by next year, I'm going to be at the Olympia and I'm going to be top 5. Doesn't usually work like that. Not saying it's impossible, but don't expect that to be the norm. I appreciate the people that dream big, go get it. But don't be disappointed when things don't happen as quickly as it used to, let's say 10 years ago. Because I always say this as well. When I won my 3 Miss Bikini Olympias, I'll be completely honest, that would not even get a pro card these days. It would not. Okay.
I think about the same thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the sport, it gets more, the talent pool gets deeper every single year. You have to be in it for the long run.
Right.
And I think treating your body right along the way is going to be the key to longevity. And I know we talked a little bit about longevity with you, but I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit more
Let's get into
like your
specifics.
actual training, diet, in season, off season. What keeps you going? And not only does what keeps you going, but what continues to, I guess you're making improvements. Like you're getting better every single year. I mean, of course, with everyone, we're going to have like some ups and downs throughout the season. You might have a not so good show and then a great show, not so good. But for the most part, you're on the rise. You're not on the decline. You're on the rise. So what is your key when it comes to your general health, training, diet? What's the key to the longevity?
So what I figured out a number of years ago, there were two things, because the mind has to align, right?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
that rhymes. I like it. The mind has to align. So sometimes my inside thoughts come out, guys. That's just who I am. So one thing I figured out, and this was the game changer for me, is to stop making excuses. So once I unlocked that little area of my brain where it's like, no, you have everything you need to get this done, to achieve your goals, shut your mouth, go do the work, right? And now I'm like, my tone is changing because now I'm going into like athlete mode, right? And so once you realize that you can make this work, right? And I mean this for bikini, right? Because we're not as extreme as some of the other divisions, but like, you have to look at everything around you and see what works, see what doesn't, troubleshoot it, and then just make it work for you and your lifestyle and move forward, right? So unlocking the mind was a big key for me. But as far as the particulars and the nitty-gritty of what I do, so as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm blessed with great genetics. So my job is to preserve that, right? So my job is to do things in my power to keep my body looking as youthful as possible in the most natural way possible. Also, resting. So I never really emphasized sleep and recovery as much as I do now. Like you said, Ashley, like the non-negotiables, like nothing's gonna disturb my sleep. Like, husband, I love you, but I'm in earplugs, I'm in the face mask, I'm like zoned out, like it's sleepy time, right? To the point where, and this might sound a little bit extreme, if I'm off or uncomfortable, because some parts of prep, when you are preparing for the show, if let's say you're leaning out, right, losing that body fat, it can be uncomfortable, and that's a reality of what we're going through, right? So sometimes I'll just come sleep in the cat room with the cats, and I'm a little more comfortable. It's a little more quiet, not having to think about, oh, I don't want to disturb my partner in bed, right? So that's one example, is my sleep. My sleep and the way that I recover is something that has taken precedence over a lot of my life. And then decreasing the stress. A lot of us run around rampant in this society where everything is fast and everything is now, and it's stress, stress, stress. And and being available for everyone at all times. That's another component as well. So placing boundaries and really maintaining them so that you can minimize your stressors, whether that's in a workplace scenario, at home, in your social life, if you have one, and I hope all of you guys have one. But really controlling the stress and maximizing the rest or the sleep recovery, that has been key. Another component, the way that I feed myself. So and I've always followed a meal plan. Kim has always done a meal plan for me. It's what works. I can eat the same thing every day. It doesn't bother me at all. But back in the day when we started competing 10 years ago, right, or more, it was a lot of like, if it fits your macros, right? So a lot of consumables were processed as far as what was popular in our fitness world. Well, I realize my body doesn't like that at all. So how can I keep the machine running well? Put the best fuel in it possible. So I rely on real food, whole foods, minimize the processed foods, even if they're labeled a health food or something that in reality you and I could probably eat during our prep. But I'd rather have food. And post show or in the off season improvement season, keeping the diet pretty much the same, right? And then maybe increasing the serving sizes, of course. Do I want to treat here and there? I mean, I'm human. Sure, I'm going to do that. But if my body reacts poorly because it's not seen these items in a really long time, I'm going to stay away from them. And I now gotten to the point where it's like, I don't even want that donut. I don't want that, whatever the treat. I'm not going to feel good. Thank you. And I'll still accept these things, right? Because if someone's gifting you a food item, yeah, accept it. Doesn't mean you have to eat it, right? Just take it home, take it with you, do what you want with it. But
if it's your partner,
right? Give it to your partner.
I do that for Hugo's. Like I'll bring home. Sometimes I'll bring home this big cookie because I'm like, it's too much for me. I'd rather just you can have it, honey. Everyone's happy. Everyone's
happy. Exactly. But it took me a long time to realize that. And then I realized, well, gosh, every cycle of inflammation I put myself through, right? Because let's just call it what it is. Post show, some athletes will eat things they're not used to eating, whether it's a small amount or a large amount. We're not looking at the weight rebound thing. I'm just talking about the way the body feels. Yes. You get inflamed, right? And so I realized, I'm like, this sucks. It affects my sleep. It affects my mood. It affects the way my hormones feel. It affects everything. My head hurts. Like, I'm just not doing it. So I just keep it clean and keep things consistent, and have fun with food. So that's another way I can maintain my longevity, is just sticking to clean fuel in the body, right? And not trying to aggravate any inflammation that may be underlying or cause inflammation from fun food items, right? Other ways, so what did I say? Sleep, the nutrition, more sleep, naps, if I can take naps in the middle of the, like, I'm talking about sleep.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about the post show too. Of eating pretty much the same thing, so you're keeping your weight in check in the off season as well.
Yeah.
And I think that people underestimate how much, and Ashley talks about it quite a bit.
Yes.
But the longevity that gives you too, because the skin elasticity will only go so many times.
Correct. Yes.
And so I find it to be common that people with the longest careers, I think there's two parts of that. I find it to be common with the longest careers is that they don't have to worry about the skin elasticity because it's always the same. It's always the same. It's never going up and down, right? It's always just barely a little bit up, barely a little bit. It's always like that. But the other thing is, I think once they get in the mindset of it, it's not this drastic change every time they get into a prep. And you can only go through so many times before you burn yourself out, where you're like, oh, I got to do this again. I don't want to do 2 hours of cardio and eat 800 calories again.
Right.
But you girls aren't people that have to do that because you keep it tight enough where you're like, okay, I'm going to do a show in 10 weeks. I got to lose 10 pounds. That's 1 pound a week. No problem. And I don't even know if it's like even that much for you, but I know that's how Kim does things too, but he's like, he has to do like 1 pound a week, 10 weeks. That type of thing. Yeah. So I find that to be a common thing. So just thanks for mentioning that too, because you have two top people here and it's nice to hear confirmation on that.
We say this all the time, but it's like, we sound like a broken record at some point, and they're just like, that works for you. That works for you. But you also got to keep are you in this for like 2 years, or do you want to make it to the top for a long time? Because you do have to keep in mind that skin elasticity and amongst other things, because you can only be an accordion so many times before you're just like, you know what? Let's forget it. So I always keep that in mind for myself. I'm just like, dude, I don't want to I'm not going to be done in 2 years. I'm going to keep going. And that's why I keep going.
Yes.
So yes. You can say that because we get so much crap for it.
Right.
We really do.
Oh,
And
I
of
agree.
course, there is exceptions to every rule, and you can definitely overdo being too tight in the off season. I'm not. But I'm glad that you mentioned that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up one other thing, and I
Yeah.
love that you said this, because a lot of people beat around the bush with this, or they'll genetics. It does play a big role. And just know that everyone out there is going to have genetic pluses and genetic minuses.
Yes.
I know what my genetic pluses and genetic minuses are, and it seems like you do too.
Yeah.
My genetic pluses is I can maintain for a long time without my
Yes.
body deteriorating.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a
My
blessing.
disadvantages is, God, it's so hard for me to get lean. Like, it's
Yeah.
for some people, they can just knock off a pound a week.
Right.
No problem. For me, nah.
I'm
It's going to probably
shocked.
take twice as much. My metabolism
It's
isn't like
tough.
super, super fast,
Oh,
but I
It's
can
tough.
maintain. Once I'm
wow.
there,
You
I can
cruise, right?
maintain. I'm cruising.
Yeah.
I've not done cardio in a while.
Yeah.
I'm at that point where I'm just, all right, I'm cruising,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't
Wow.
see much deterioration with my physique, but getting to that point of being lean is very difficult for me. I'm, so we all have those genetic pluses and minuses, and the sport teaches us what they are. And for you, you already know what yours is. And I love that, because a lot of people will kind of disregard the genetics, but just
Yeah.
know that everyone out there has some pluses and minuses. Everyone, I promise you. It might not be the same as Jessica's and mine. You might have something totally different, but maybe another person can build muscle super easy,
Right.
but getting lean is tough. Or somebody can get lean super easy, but building that muscle is difficult,
Yeah.
or maintaining is difficult. So just know we all have genetics to work around, and some work to our favor and some don't. So thank you for pointing that out. I really appreciate that you did.
No, and I appreciate that you just shared something about yourself too, because guess what? It's really hard for me to lean out too.
Yes.
Oh, really?
But
Me
once
too.
it is, and it's like Kim and I are always like, oh boy, here we go, and it's like, all right, usually like 2 weeks out, something happens and it just comes off. That's just kind of, and I know what areas are the last to kind of tighten up, and that's what we know about me. But somehow my body pulls it off, and then like you, Ashley. So once I'm there, I can cruise, but I don't seem to keep the longevity like you can. So it's like I'm still figuring that out, right? Because historically, and I'll share this as it's part of my experience and kind of a warning to some that are out there. And warning sounds really ominous, but in reality, it's sharing my experience so you guys, it doesn't happen to you as well. So for me, historically, I've done lots of shows every year, like 6, 7, 8 shows a year, every single year, right? And by the end, my body's it's done, right? And so I will take last year as an example. Last year, I did what? I started with the Wasatch, did New York, did Pittsburgh, did Nevada, DC Pro, Masters, Olympia. So that's 6 shows. I feel like there's one in the mix I'm forgetting. 6 shows, and then the Olympia. That's number 7, right? And by the time Open Olympia, so I won the title. Cool. Awesome. Body peaked. Like, oh my gosh, the best I've ever looked, right? In August. And then the Open Olympia, I was so tired. I mean, I was in third call out, I think. And I mean, they put me in the middle, but like
That's pretty good though for
it was
Olympia. It's
pretty
a really
good.
good show.
Yeah, yeah. But
Actually, really good.
There's like
That's
6
not-
call outs there.
That
so that's
is
the upper,
really good.
upper
yeah,
middle.
so it's not
Upper
well,
middle. Like,
And this
I'm-
is the best of the best, of
Yeah.
course.
and it's the best of the
Open
best.
Olympia.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys are cheering me up, but in my competitor's
Yeah.
no, that's
mind, I'm
pretty
like,
good. That's
That's really
pretty solid.
good.
I'm like, I was in the 16er group.
That's
But
the upper
barely.
range.
But
Yeah,
barely,
there.
right.
Barely.
There's like 7, 8
But-
call outs sometimes because the way they shift things
Yeah.
around.
People
There's
don't
so
realize
many.
how many girls there are at the Olympia.
61
Right.
girls last year.
It's a
61,
lot.
I
Like
think it
60
was.
or something. There's
Yeah.
so many. So that's
So
great.
many. So it's good. It's great. No, and you're absolutely right. So I don't want anyone out there to think I'm not thankful for it, or I'm not, I'm trying to push it down like it's not. But really, the caliber of my physique dropped. And that's the message I want to share. It's not the place. I don't care about the placings. I'm having fun no matter what. You guys know me. You've been around me enough where I'm like, I'm having fun no matter what happens. If we win, awesome. If my friends win, even better. But, I'm still going to have fun even if I'm dead last. I'll get in my feelings in my room when I'm by myself because, hey, I'm human. But that's it. It'll be a moment and then it's gone. But the reason I'm sharing this, so historically, all these years, I've competed 6, 7, 8 times, right? And then by the end of the year, I'm just like, boom, my body's just done. So sometimes we have to learn as we're figuring out our genetics, right? As we're figuring out, like, all right, I know it takes me a while, like it takes me 2 to 3 shows to get it right. And then I cruise for a little bit. But what can I do differently this year, for example? Because I still have to qualify. Like, even though I'm Miss Olympia Masters, no one ever said anything about, hey, you're qualified for, no, because it's a whole different thing, right? So a lot of people are presuming that I'm qualified for life, and I'm like, I wish that'd be fun, but no, we're not there. It's a different thing. So my main goal this year is I got to get back on that Olympia stage, and I better not be in that third call out. Like, I was so close to the big stage. I was 11th my very first year, but every year after, my body's just been done. And it's because I've hit it so hard throughout the year. So now I know, I'm like, all right, how can I be more strategic to protect my body, knowing how my genetics work, right? So like,
I love that.
that's my goal. And I share that experience I've had because I want others to save, it's all about protecting the body and longevity. If you want to be in this for the long haul, like Ashley said, and I'm saying, be aware of what your genetic strengths are and aware of your weaknesses, and learn to work with them, because that will take you so much farther. And that will also take you farther in life as far as your health and longevity goes outside the sport. Because for some, this may be a bucket list thing where you're learning lifestyle, and maybe the lifestyle sticks, but maybe the stage is not your favorite part. But then for some of us, like, we're making careers out of this. So the more we're on stage, the more relevant we remain as we build our brands. And so, we want to be in this for the long haul and show up so people can see what can be done. But that's the strategy shift, for anyone who's thinking, I'm just going to keep going. And as pros, we're a bit more used to competing over and over and over again, versus the amateurs are like, I'm going to do 2 shows, 2 weekends back to back. And it's like, you sure about that?
Yeah. I love exactly what you're saying, because this sport, like I said, you're going to learn so much about your physique, and the more you compete, the more you're going to learn. And that's something you've recently discovered. Okay, maybe I shouldn't compete as often. And it's always important to be smart about this, because you could compete more and more, and you're probably going to look worse and worse.
Right.
So you got to be strategic. And I even tell Adam too, I'm like, the minute I start looking worse and worse, time for a little mini break. And I take these mini breaks when I need it, because I got to be smart about it, because I'm thinking of the long run. I'm not going to continue to compete if I'm looking worse and worse.
Right.
Of course, some shows, just like I've mentioned previously, it's going to have its ups and downs. Not everyone's going to be better and better and better. You might have little dips, but for the most part, is the trajectory going up or is it going down? So I'm glad that you're able to recognize, like, okay, maybe not so many shows. But just being aware of your physique, I think, and your health is super important. It's something that we should all be very aware of. Don't make stupid decisions if you know that you're getting worse and worse. It's something you got to learn. And I'm not saying you're going to get it right off the bat, but we're learning, and I'm still learning too. Like, let it be known, I've got a pretty good grasp of how my body reacts and what it's, how much it can hold up to, but still, I'm still learning, because the body's always changing to some extent, I also find it very interesting too, that for both of us, we're, we keep it tighter in the off season, but even it's kind of like the reason probably for you as well is because it's so hard to lose the weight when you got to. So just keeping it kind of in check. That's great. Yeah. So thank you for all this knowledge.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to point out too, because it's a great opportunity to see 2 competitors and compare them, 2 champions, 2, winners, right? Both of you, when I see the general public and I see amateurs, both scenarios of if you as an amateur, right? Both of you are more petite women.
Yeah.
And those are the women that are like, no, I need to bulk in the off season because I'm little. Specifically for that reason, I need to bulk. And we're talking to 2 Miss Olympias, right? that don't do that are both petite. And the other thing I want to point out too is we have 2 highly successful bikini athletes that are both petite, right? You just won the Masters Olympia. You've been top 3 in the world the last few years. And I want to just point that out, because a lot of people get intimidated. Oh, I'm never going to be that big. I'm never going to be that big. I'm like, Jessica's 100 pounds, 5'2". Like, she's not a big girl, but she's still doing well. Bikini, I do think for sure bikini has opened up to more divisions. And this is something I was pointing out the other day, because I'm always afraid that, hey, it's going to get too big. It's going to get too big and it's going to shrink the market. Right. And it's something that I was, always on for a while. But what I've stepped back and noticed was that, hey, yeah, they're allowing some physiques that kind of fit a criteria that are a little bigger, that have a different structure, that are maybe a little bigger. But the girls that were doing good before that are petite are still doing good and never have gotten pushed out. Right. That's what people don't understand. It might have opened up more to bigger physiques, that allowing here and there a variance here and there, or someone who's very, very special and technically too big, but they allow it, right? Because she's very special, right? And you could see, some of these women that are just, you would usually see them like, oh, she's way too big for bikini, but she has those special lines. But the thing that always point out is that, hey, the girls that were petite that were doing good before are still the girls that are petite that are still doing good now. Like nothing, so that's something just for the general audience to take in. Yes, you could be petite. If you're petite, doesn't necessarily mean you need to bulk in the off season and gain a bunch of body fat. These two are not doing it. They're both champions. If just because you're petite doesn't mean you can't compete in bikini. It suits a lot of physiques in bikini. It suits a lot of range. So just some things to take for this for the amateurs or people who might be maybe sometimes frustrated for the wrong reasons. They're frustrated because they just haven't made it to a level of being good enough yet. It's not good enough because you're petite. It's not good enough because you're not bulking. You're just not there yet. That's okay. It's going to take a while. So something to take away from this.
Agree.
I want to briefly dive into your experience as a whole at the Masters Olympia before we sign off here.
Yeah.
So it must be pretty cool to, hold that title, obviously, but another element to this whole scenario is it's in Romania, which is like, what? So tell me, I want to know what went through your head when they announced you as Miss Masters Bikini Olympia.
Oh my gosh.
How did you feel?
I had an outer body experience. I'm not kidding. I was gone for those moments, and Janine, who came in second, both names starting with the J. So they called the third and right. And it was interesting because the way that they left us at prejudging was not the way the world thought it was going to be. I think I got pushed out to the side. We weren't in the center, or maybe she was in the center and I was out. They shuffled us in a way where it was nobody knew. Nobody knew, right? So to me, it was, hey, nothing's done until it's done. We know that. It's not over until it's over and it's announced. So you're still on your A game. You still, maintain your professionalism, maintain your everything, right? So while they called fourth and it wasn't me. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is all right, cool. That's me. And I'm just waiting on the side and I'm keeping composure, right? And then they called third and it wasn't me. And I'm like, oh, snap. Okay, so this is all right, cool. No assumptions. I'm just like, that's cool. It wasn't me. I'm not third. And then they called runner up, and it's Chick, right? It's Bob. So he's very dramatic about the way he announces things, right?
It's so long. It's so long. Yeah.
Right. So it's it must have been a whole minute. Really, it was 3 seconds. But so I'm like, all right. So I wasn't fourth and I wasn't third. And now it's the moment. Well, all right, here we go. So I'm mimicking my pose over here. And then they say, and I'm like, oh. And I was, guys, I'm not kidding. I was gone. I have photos, some candid shots where you could see the blank, I wasn't in there. I was not in there. So when I heard my name, I finally came back, I re-inhabited my body. and all I remember thinking was, don't fall down, just stay up, don't fall down. So I took a moment and I didn't walk. I didn't drop to the ground. I didn't get super dramatic about it. I just started chuckling. Which
really?
Shocker. I just started giggling. I got the nervous, excited laugh. So there are pictures of me I'm like, I'm just giggling like a weirdo. I'm just giggling. And I'm like, oh, really? This is it? And everyone's like, yeah, it's you, go. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And I just, and then the gravity of it hit me. Because I and I don't know that a whole lot of people take the Masters titles very seriously, but I'm taking it seriously. And I know a lot of the Masters athletes see it as a very serious thing. And hey, there are tons of athletes that want to be in it. So it's very serious. But then when I started walking and I was like, keep your hold your head up high, the gravity of it hit me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are the representative. Okay, let's walk into this with grace and let's be that representative. And it was really cool. It was really cool to feel that feeling and know the impact that I could somehow have on someone who wants to do this, and I always think about that 32-year-old me that was like, you're too old. Like, are you too old? Like, I don't know. And I'm going to tell her, go do the damn thing, girl. Go do it. Like, if I could do it and it took me this long to get all the way to the top, like, you can do it too. So that's that's what happened. That's what went through my mind. And I get emotional every time I think about it because it's such an important role to play. And Ashley, you have a legacy in this sport, and we joked at the top of the call, it's like AK-47's here, right? Like, and you're going to keep going and you're going to keep going. And women like you make women like me better, and women like me make those other women better. And it's amazing to me how the impact, right? That's the biggest part of my brain. That's like, impact. What kind of impact can you have on someone? Even just one person that doesn't think they can, but you did it, so they can do it too. So that's a lot, but that's what went through my head the moment it happened.
She's such a great
I'm really glad you asked that question.
Oh my gosh.
I am too.
You are the perfect ambassador for the Masters Olympia. I'm so glad that you got the title. And wishing you the best of luck at the next one.
I'm glad you're.
She's great.
She's great. There's some champions where I'm really glad that they're champions, and because it's good for the sport, and I'm like, there's sometimes I'll look at who the potential girls are, and I'll like, yeah, you know what, I might not even like her physique, but I'll be like, she would be a great champion, And so like you're a great champion,
And you got a great physique too. I mean,
yeah. Obviously, she's kicking my butt here and there.
Yes. I can't wait to see you in person.
I'm used to it.
It's so fun. I can't wait to see you guys in person again soon. Yeah. But thank you for asking, thank you for inviting me on. I'm like, there's so much more I want to say, but it's been over an hour now. Oh my gosh. You guys are so fun to talk to and so easy to talk to. And I'm so honored that we have spent some time together and have talked about some of these things, because I do feel a lot of these topics, I listen to your podcast and it's my cardio jam. That's what I do. And I've learned a lot from you guys and what you have to offer to competitors and non-competitors. It's a lot of very useful wisdom to change mindsets, to change physiques, because the mindsets have changed. So I appreciate you both, on stage and off, for what you do. I know that you guys have helped me become a better version of myself. So I wanted you to know that, and thank you publicly for that. And like, wild. And every time I see Ashley, I remind her, I'm like, so and this was when you won your first Olympia, my husband was proposing to me and I was mad because he was interrupting me watching you win. Like, that's
seriously,
weird, happened? Right? Yeah, that actually happened.
Wow, that happened. That was a real story.
That's a real story. And like, I remember seeing you, Ashley, when I was just learning about the sport, and I was going to look for it and find it and show it. I know where it is, but it'll take a minute. But, I have like a cutout from Oxygen magazine when she won her title. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Ashley Kaltwasser. And it's so cool to be your peer, and to get to know you as a person as well. And it's a really tremendous honor, because in what you have accomplished, you were able to help me see that I could accomplish something great as well. And so anything that I can do to pass along some of that wisdom, just like you guys are doing through the podcast, through what you're doing at the shows, Ashley, like, keep going, because it's helping the world become better, at least our little bodybuilding world. But obviously we want it all to be better. So thank you for doing what you do and having me on.
Oh, yeah, no, I appreciate it. And you know what? If anything, I'm trying to show people out there, hey, you can do this too. And you can do it for a long time if you do it the right way. Make smart decisions, treat your body right, be healthy. And you might surprise yourself how far you can go. Because I always say the story, when I first turned pro, my goal was to win one pro show. And I thought that would be the pinnacle of it. I thought that would be but turns out I have a lot left in me, and I still do. So let's keep going. And I want to say this as well. It's going to sound super cheesy. I was in a crappy mood today because I'm just tired and jet lagged from travel. You just put me in like the best mood ever just talking to you. She's so positive and just cheerful. Like you're just like a little ball of sunshine. So thank you for putting me in a great mood.
Consistently, right? Yes. Her energy is contagious. So thanks for always being, especially backstage too. All the positive. You always bring a good energy. So I thank you for that too. Always bringing good energy. And hey, it looks like you helped me avoid a crank for today. So I'm happy about that.
I had crankies. We call it the post-show hangover. The post-show hangover. There's no alcohol involved. No alcohol, but it's just. And I was talking to you. Yes, I was talking to you, Jessica, before we began. It's just like. You're on like cloud 9 after a show, so much excitement, you gave so much emotion, and then after it's done, you're just like those endorphins are just like burp.
It's true. It's
just
true.
Like,
it's a thing. The dopamine's gone. Build it up. But no, post-show crankies. I like that. I'm gonna use that. Yeah, I get them too. It's the brain. It's what it is. It's super high to normal, right?
Yes.
So we're not alone.
Well, now I got some endorphins back.
Stole some endorphins.
Yes.
So, well, thank you so much. And you're opposing coach, so I want to give you a shout out on that.
And where can they find you, by the way?
Yep.
Oh, yes. So you can find me on Instagram at JessFitVet. And if you have posing inquiries, just send me a DM, or you can email me. Oh boy, I'm going to put it out there. JessFitVet@gmail.com, and we will get connected and get you set up.
Your posing's legit.
Thank you.
It's not over the top and it's not cheesy. It's like so elegant and smooth and graceful. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we got keep it classy. Keep it classy.
Thank
Keep it elegant.
For being such a good representation with the posing as well as everything else. So thank you.
Cool. Well, we'll see you. I'm sure we'll see you soon. Is there maybe that's a secret, but unless you don't want it to be a secret, you can say what month maybe. What round?
You're gonna see me. You're gonna see me when you see me.
Okay.
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Hey, I get
Ashley
it.
knows.
I get how it goes.
Ashley knows, which means you might know, which is fine. But you're gonna see me soon. I'm coming back. Okay. Guys. It's been a minute.
I'll just text Kim if I need to.
Yeah, or that, whatever. Or who knows, Adam? Maybe I'll see you there.
Well, maybe you will. All right.
Maybe.
All right. I'll see you later.
We're coming back.
So
Bye,
much
guys.
for tuning in. Bye.